What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, I want to talk about Jarrett Stidham here, and I want to talk about, are Patriots fans being too tough on him? Are Patriots fans being too optimistic on him? In this video, I'm going to give you guys the truth and the hard facts. Some of you might not agree with it, but in the end, this is going to be the truth about Jarrett Stidham. I think the best way to start this video out is just by telling people that everybody is entitled to their own opinion, okay? And don't hate on somebody just because they might have a different opinion than you. In the end, when it comes to Jarrett Stidham, someone that still has a lot of question marks because we haven't seen him take over the 2020 season yet, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. My own personal take on Jarrett Stidham is I have faith in the kid. Am I 100% sold on him? No. And I think that that's something that a lot of people get mixed up. There's a difference between being 100% sold, 100% confident, and just straight up having faith in somebody. To me, I let who the player is on the field, how they perform, on the field, passing the football in Jarrett Stidham's case, how he's able to read a defense, his decision making, how can he take care of the football, how has he progressed throughout the offseason. That is how I evaluate a player. I don't evaluate somebody just by emotions. I think if you evaluate somebody because of emotions, then you're definitely not getting an accurate base on who that player truly is. I've seen some Patriots fans that are just in love with Jarrett Stidham. I think some of them might be a little bit too in love with Stidham. There's some people trying to say that Jarrett Stidham is going to lead the Patriots to multiple Super Bowls within the next few years, including this upcoming season. I think that right now that's a bit of a strong case to put on a young rookie who still has things to prove. But then there's the other side of the perspective. People saying that Jarrett Stidham is nothing, trying to put him in the same boat as a Brian Hoyer, Danny Etling type of guy. But my rule, especially when it comes to Jarrett Stidham, is, okay, when you're arguing the good versus the bad, which one outweighs the other more? And in Jarrett Stidham's case, you literally cannot argue, despite your feelings on him, you cannot argue that there is more good evidence versus bad evidence to go against him. I mean, Jarrett Stidham statistically had the best rookie preseason out of any quarterback ever under the Bill Belichick era. I mean, we're talking about Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Danny Etling. And Stidham has come on top out of all of those guys. In fact, Stidham's stats were very much similar to somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo, which Pats Nation loved Jimmy Garoppolo. Everybody wanted him to be the future. A lot of people were upset, including Bill Belichick, when they had to get rid of Garoppolo. In fact, it was kind of rumored to be that Belichick wanted Garoppolo to be the guy that took over for Tom Brady. Jarrett Stidham's stats this past year for the preseason, he was 61 for 90 attempts for 731 yards, 4 touchdowns with 1 interception. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, his rookie year back in 2014, he went 46 of 79 attempts for 618 yards with 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. Now, of course, preseason stats do not always tell the entire story of a player. But we have also heard a lot about Jarrett Stidham on the positive aspect of things outside of the preseason. And of course, because of how he performed in the preseason, it gave a legitimate reason to have some optimism that Stidham has laid out a strong foundation to give himself a chance to be the Jimmy Garoppolo that the Patriots used to have. For some reason, a big argument that a lot of people try to use against Jarrett Stidham is the fact that, well, Stidham wasn't selected in the first round. He was selected in the 4th. Patriots Global, do you really think that a 4th round quarterback is going to take on the role that Tom Brady used to have? And to those people, I just have to stand back and wonder, how can you be so, stupid to think that a draft status, where you get selected in the draft, determines the type of player you're going to be? I mean, no one's ever going to be Tom Brady. Brady's one of a kind. Tom Brady's going to be Tom Brady, and guess what? Jarrett Stidham is going to be Jarrett Stidham. But you act like Tom Brady was selected with the first overall pick in the draft. Brady was selected in the 6th round. According to that, Jarrett Stidham would look like a god back in the days. If the Patriots had selected, let's say, Jarrett Stidham in the 4th round, the same year that they took Tom Brady in the 6th round, people would be saying that there's no way that Brady would beat out a guy like Jarrett Stidham. Because the problem with a lot of people these days who don't truly look into the facts when it comes to football and football players and who they are as an actual player, rather than just a number, they take that number as a fact. This player will perform, as a first-round talent. They'll make it to the Pro Bowl. They'll be a difference maker, and that's not the case. Let's remember Josh Rosen. He was a first-round pick. Jameis Winston was a first overall pick. Philip Dorsett was also a first-round pick. So is Blake Bortles. We could go on and on talking about guys who were selected in the first round that did not pan out as first-round talents. And then, of course, to go along with that, you have, again, Tom Brady selected in the 6th. Edelman selected in the 7th. Antonio Brown also selected in those late rounds. Look at Russell Wilson. He is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And he was a 3rd round pick. Truly, factually, some of the best players to ever play in the NFL have come from mid to late rounds. Now, guys, real quick, there's no shortage of action going on with our exclusive partners, betonline.ag. For those of you who are NASCAR fans, of course, that's back, and that is something you can bet on with betonline.ag. You can also bet on hundreds of games, events, and sports that you can still get on. I know a lot of people here are fans of the NFL, and guess what? You can bet on NFL, NBA, and UFC simulated games. In fact, you can even participate in a $10,000 Madden Bracket Challenge. Basically what that is a March Madness style NFL simulation tournament that you can enter, guess what, 100% completely free. Now, if you guys are interested, visit the website or use your mobile device and join today to receive your new welcome bonus and check out all of the action, guys. Bet Online, your online wagering solution. Now we move on to the fact that Jarrett Stidham has received nothing but praise. People from inside New England's organization, people outside the Patriots organization, including some coaches, including some trainers, and even Cliff Kingsbury, if you guys don't know who that is the head coach to the Cardinals. He loves Jarrett Stidham. And is he inside the Patriots organization? Something that a lot of Jarrett Stidham haters like to use in defense is the fact that, Patriots Global, Stephon Gilmore, Daron Harmon, Terrence Brooks, James White, Rex Burkhead, Devin McCourty, they're all only saying nice things about Jarrett Stidham because he's going to be the future. We're in a Tom Brady-less era. What do you expect them to say? Bad things? And to that I have to say, when did Patriots players ever say that about another guy? When did they ever give this much praise to one individual player just to give it to him and it ended up not working out? And in that case, how come a guy like Danny Etling never received praise from any of these guys? How come any of the other quarterbacks that came in for the Patriots never received praise like this from any of the other guys? These guys are choosing to give Jarrett Stidham praise. It's not like they're trying to avoid the question. It's not like they're giving a mediocre answer like, Jarrett Stidham, he comes in every day, he does the work, we'll just see how it goes. They're going in depth, showing how much Jarrett Stidham is truly impressing them. Even a guy like Stephon Gilmore, who is the best quarterback or cornerback in the NFL right now, DPOY of the year. He went on saying how Jarrett Stidham made real good elite throws. And this is from a veteran in the NFL, talking about how playing against him made it harder against their defense and essentially made the Patriots defense and Stephon Gilmore a better player. When has Stephon Gilmore ever just randomly given somebody that much of high praise if he didn't truly mean it? And again, if you're going to use that reference, well, if they're in the Patriots organization, they're being forced to say these things about Stidham. Well, okay, what about the guys outside of the Patriots organization? How come they're also giving high praise to Jarrett Stidham? I think it's only right if we just hear some of the things that some of these guys have said about Stidham. Now, this one is coming from Patriots former safety Duron Harmon. He said, "You see throws out there that he makes and you're just like, wow. You can tell that he has the intangibles to be a good pro quarterback." Patriots safety Terrence Brooks, he said, "He's made some great throws in practice where everybody takes notice. Like, hey man, this dude is getting really good." Harmon also made another comment on Stidham in which he said, "There are other things he does, and it shows. He's young, but it's all a part of the learning process and the learning curve. He's a guy who comes to work each and every day. He gives us the same attitude. He's a great teammate. Looking forward to when he gets his chance to see what he can do." Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels had this to say about Stidham. "There's some pressure on them to go in there and execute and communicate in the huddle and do things right at the line of scrimmage and have a productive period. I really think Stidham's got a great attitude. He's improving during the course of the year, and he's ready to go each week." McDaniels also added the fact that Stidham is the type of guy that comes into Gillette Stadium early and leaves late. That is the definition of what we need, because who was the other guy that did that? Tom Brady. Stidham makes sure that he gets extra work, including sessions with assistant quarterback coach Mike Lombardi, and he used to also work with Cody Kessler before the Patriots cut him. This is what Cody Kessler had to say about Stidham. He said, "He's a great player. He's really competitive, a really good player. It's cool because when we do our quarterback drills, we throw and we're always competing and having a good time with each other. It's really good quarterback room in my opinion, and he's throwing the ball really well." Now, I think it's also important to hear from the perspective of the receivers, because they're the ones mostly communicating with Jarrett Stidham. They're in the huddle. They know how he's running everything, how distinct he is. So this is what Jacoby Myers had to say about Stidham. He said, "It's been fun. It's easy to follow him on the field. It's easy to listen to him. He'll tell you what he wants and how he wants it, and you just do it. It's a standard here. Next man up, regardless. Tom Brady, Jarrett Stidham, he comes and he does his job." This is what former Patriot wide receiver Philip Dorsett had to say about him. "He can make every throw. He throws a pretty catchable pass. He has a good arm strength. He's a good quarterback. I like the way he throws the ball. He spins it." I mean, we could just go on and on and on talking about great things that people have said about Jarrett Stidham, both in the Patriots organization and out of it, but I think that by now you guys get the point. I understand that Jarrett Stidham might not have had the best appearance for his first regular season NFL game. Keep in mind, though, the Patriots just threw him out there in garbage time. They had a big lead. Jarrett Stidham might have been more locked in, but I guarantee you that not all the other players were 100% locked in. They knew they were winning, so essentially they just didn't care all that much. Stidham came in, threw some good passes. There was definitely some communication issues, though, between the receivers and Jarrett Stidham, but again, at the same time, that's not the quarterback they've been playing with. Tom Brady, Jarrett Stidham, they are, of course, different quarterbacks, and, of course, Stidham got thrown in there in garbage time. Stidham ends up throwing a pass to a receiver, throws it a little bit high. It seemed like the receiver could have gotten it, but it just seemed like it slightly slipped through the top of his fingers. Jamal Adams, who I must add, one of the best safeties in all of the NFL, made a good play off the ball, went back and got it for a pick six, put some points up for the Jets. Tom Brady ends up coming back in the game. That is the play that I have seen a lot of people choosing to remember about Jarrett Stidham. A garbage time pass picked off by one of the best defenders in the NFL. People totally want to disregard everything that Jarrett Stidham had done the entirety of that offseason, the entirety of the preseason, helping out the Patriots defense, learning from the GOAT even as the regular season progressed. All the great things that were said about Stidham, again, both in the locker room and in the Patriots facility versus outside. But there's still fans that choose, well, I'm going to remember that play. As if there was never a time that Tom Brady threw a bad ball or Tom Brady threw a stupid interception. Look, guys, I'm going to get real with you for a second. I understand that Tom Brady left, and that is a super hard thing to go with, especially for the people that just grew up with Tom Brady. That's always been the quarterback that they've known. That's how the Patriots have succeeded. They're in uncharted territory, and there's a lot of questions which, for Patriots fans, we're not used to. But don't purposely find reasons to hate on Jarrett Stidham just because Tom Brady left to play for another team. Believe it or not, as Patriots fans, we can help Jarrett Stidham out in being successful. Continuing to hate on him and banging him down and destroying his confidence, we're making sure that Jarrett Stidham isn't going to go anywhere. As Patriots fans doing this to him, we're knocking him down to a place that he's not going to be able to succeed. And in return, is that what Patriots fans really want? They don't want to succeed. They don't want to have good quarterback. They don't want to go to the playoffs. They don't want to win games. They don't want to win potential Super Bowls. If that's the case, ask yourself, are you an actual Patriots fan? Guys, I'm not here to ride Jarrett Stidham because, like I said, I have question marks on him still. I'm not fully devoted to Stidham yet. In fact, I'm going to be making a video called The Good and Bad of Jarrett Stidham, just talking about the good things he does versus the things that aren't so good. But again, you look at the good versus the bad, and the good just outweighs the bad so much more. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Jarrett Stidham? I really hope that you got to the end of this video. If you did, I appreciate you very much, especially because I think this is a video that things just needed to be said to Pats Nation, and so I had to say it. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe for all of your New England Patriots news. If you haven't already, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps me and the channel out so much, and it doesn't cost you anything. Like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.